Welcome back, awesome students. This is your teacher, Mr. North, and this is Knowledge Now. Now, for the students in my robotics class, I want to go ahead and go over a few things as far as the nature of robotics and robotic technology and the way it's moving forward. Also, the different types and uses of technology. So, let me go ahead and get started. First, let's define robotics technology. Robotics is an interdisciplinary sector of science and engineering dedicated to the design, construction, and use of mechanical robots. Our guide will give you a concrete grasp of robotics, including different types of robots and how they're being applied across the industries. Now, the site that I'm on, if you want to follow along, is builtin.com/robotics. And this is a great resource for you to refer back to whenever you're in the course. So, an overview. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just read a little bit of this to you. Now, what is robotics? Robotics is the intersection of science, engineering, and technology that produces machines called robots that substitute for or replicate human actions. If you go and look in to the grocery stores and you see how they have those self checkouts, those machines are robots. They are a substitute for a person in the checkout aisle who traditionally was there to check out the items with you, and they provided customer service and a little human touch to the industry. But right now, it's more cost effective to just get a robot and then have them do it because you only have to spend the cost one time instead of paying an employee plus insurance, medical, and all those other good things. Pop culture has always been fascinated with robots. R2D2, Optimus Prime, Wally. These over exaggerated humanoid concepts of robots usually seem like a caricature of the real thing, or are they more forward thinking than we realize? Robots are gaining intellectual and mechanical capabilities that don't put the possibilities of R2D2 like machines out of the reach in the future. Now, mainstream media has taken a lot of time to use what's called predictive programming. Now, I'm not here to say whether or not having robots is good or bad. Honestly, it's good because it could take the labor out. It'll do those more cumbersome jobs and provide you with more opportunities to spend time with your family and friends and do things that you want other than these little monotonous tasks. So there's an upside to having robots in your company, or if you're running something, it's cost effective and it'll allow you to not be on site depending on what type of robot you design or for whatever industry you're in. As technology progresses, so too does the scope of what is considered robotics. In 2005, 90% of all robots could be found assembling cars in automotive factories. These robots consist mainly of mechanical arms tasked with welding and screwing on certain parts of a car. Now, robots have a huge impact on like every industry, as a matter of fact. And as we move forward, in with our technology, um, as humans, in order to generate income, unless of course they just go ahead and just give people money, but you're gonna have to be in a more of a leadership position when dealing with robots and not um, performing the task that a robot can do. So basically, yeah, welding, certain types of welding, are building cars. We'll just use their example. If you wanted to learn how to build a car with your bare hands, and you wanted to use that as your trade, you could do that. You'd have to charge an insane amount of money and make the car super custom because if not, if you just do it subpar or just as a robot can do, it'd be a lot less. It would be smarter for whoever's producing the cars for consumption by the public to just go ahead and get the machines. So you'd have to be looking into how to design robots that can build cars instead of being the person to build a car. Today, we're seeing an evolved and expanded definition of robotics that includes the development, creation, and use of bots that explore Earth's harshest conditions, robots that assist law enforcement, and even robots that assist with almost every facet of healthcare. While the overall world of robotics is expanding, a robot has some consistent characteristics. Now, we're gonna go into a few characteristics of robots. Number one, robots all consist of some sort of mechanical construction, period. It's just that simple. The mechanical aspect of a robot helps to complete tasks in the environment for which it's designed. For example, the Mars 2020 rover's wheels are individually motorized and made of titanium tubing that help it firmly grip the harsh terrain of the red planet. That is a terrible example because we've never even left what they call the atmosphere. But we can get into all of that later. If you have an idea that I have just so much evidence that we haven't. As far as space exploration is concerned, it's really just big business and marketing, and it's really a con, and it is what it is. So I was just a little bit about me. I went to school for electrical engineering, and I studied robotics and aerospace technology, and really wanted to work at NASA because my cousin worked at NASA, and that's how I have information about it not even being what you think it is. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just NASA stands for never a straight answer. If you actually do the research, you'll find that we don't even have a single photo, a true photo of the Earth. And they had the technology in 1962. They destroyed it. I'll put a little video on here later, apparently, and it's been a pain to recreate it. Everything that you see as far as space is concerned is CGI. Period. There are no photos. Period. The thermosphere is like 2,000 degrees. There's no substance on Earth that can withstand that type of temperature. We have what's called the Van Allen radiation belt. It's supposed to be a belt that surrounds the planet that doesn't even allow us to go out into space. And then, not to mention these alleged thousands of satellites orbiting the Earth that we can't navigate through, and all of that good stuff. So yeah, this just turned into something else.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
When you said that just now, did it sound stupid to you?
Kind of.
We're going to keep it on here. This is a terrible example of a robot. Maybe a vacuum. Those little rover vacuums that are yeah, that's a robot. But anything to do with space, and yeah, I know what you're taught. I was taught the same thing too, but these are the people who actually write the books and they use it for funding, period. So it's up to you to make up your own mind. At the end of the day, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe them. Make up your own mind. There's big business behind education, and this is one of the biggest cons that's ever been put on people. And I think NASA makes $60-something million a day. Yeah, they get about $22 billion. Yeah, that's almost 1%. That's half of a percent of the United States plan for the fiscal year. So, yeah, it is what it is. Numbers don't lie, and what they've produced from that is CGI. And I don't know how we got here, but whatever. So you see what they're doing. You see what they're doing. And these are the people that are also involved. And you see that the symbol is all the same. It's nothing, it's until you do the research, they tax you for everything anyway. So they're just stealing your money. But anyway, number 2, robots need electrical components that control and power the machinery. Essentially, an electrical current, a battery, for example, is needed to power a large majority of robots, period. Yeah, so robots contain at least some level of computer programming. Without a set of code telling you what to do, a robot would be just another piece of simple machinery. Inserting a program into a robot gives it the ability to know when and how to carry out a task. The robotics industry is strictly relatively young, but has already made amazing strides. From the deepest depths of our oceans to the heights of our outer space, robots can be found performing tasks that humans couldn't dream of achieving. So yeah, you see what we need is for it to be a robot. Must be mechanical. There's an electrical component. I know that we learning a lot about electricity and how the different ways to generate electricity. The strangest thing is there are ways to create electricity with magnets that that basically you won't have to pay for electricity anymore. You can use magnets to conduct electricity. And that's something that's also hidden from you so that the electric companies can continue to charge you about it. Nikola Tesla was one of those founders of understanding how to use electromagnetism to create electrical current. I'm all over the place, but y'all will be fine. Yeah, you can just use a couple of magnets, and we might make this a project. It might be a $5 or $10 project, but the copper coil with the magnets are enough to generate electricity. Yet it is what it is. They're going to continue to charge because you're not learning this type of stuff. If you knew this earlier, you'd be able to power your own home. You could just have a light. You can have a magnet in your room, each room. Your electric bill, nothing, and then you can get larger ones for your AC and everything else. But that's another story. So something that is mechanical, it must have an electrical component to it, and at least some level of computer programming. And we will be working on all 3 of these in the course to make sure that you have a valid understanding or a true understanding of what makes a robot. Yeah, I know I kind of went a little bit here and there with it. This is just a quick overview of robotics, of what a robot is, and then the next video I'll go into more detail on the different types of robots. Hope that y'all are having a fantastic day. Don't forget to take your vitamins, read a book, drink some water, go to sleep early, make a new friend, and be good. And I will see you all next time.
Now, I don't want to fool you here. Last month, for the first time since 1972, NASA released a blue marble, a single snapshot of the Earth taken from outer space. And so much has changed in the decades between that first picture and the second. Borders have shifted, generations have come and gone. Our global population has nearly doubled. But one thing hasn't changed. Our planet is as beautiful as ever. It still looks blue.
In 2002, Blue Marble 2.0, NASA's Rob Simon made this. And it had wide appeal too. For example, it ended up as the default background on the iPhone.
I didn't even know until I bought an iPhone and turned it on and kind of did a little happy dance.
Simmons' job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is, a composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
To us, the really cool thing was the data set. Up until that point, there was no realistic color map of the globe anywhere.
So the land layer here comes from
the Moderate Resolution Imaging Spectroradiometer aboard Terra.
And the tricky part here was the weather.
So we actually had to take clouds out.
They stashed the clouds for later, went onto the ocean. That came from an instrument that measures phytoplankton in the sea.
Where it was low, I colored it dark blue because they're low mostly in mid-oceans. And then where it's a little bit higher, it was like a little bit brighter green.
Then add the clouds back in.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space. But I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.